Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. Today I have a treat for you. We're going to be talking about creating revenue streams through real estate. I have with me today someone who owns 9 businesses in the real estate industry. Now, you don't need to do that to create revenue streams in real estate. He's overly ambitious. He's a big thinker. I'm going to get to the full introduction on him here in just a second. But leaving this show, you will have more tools in your tool chest on how to create revenue from real estate. Before I go there again, I want to remind you that inside of the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook, we take this audio learning that you're getting right now and we go deep with it. We invite you to engage with us so that you actually internalize it and you become something more. Remember, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. And inside that group, we help you to become something more. Today's guest, his name is Chris Craddock. Chris, I'm so grateful to have you here. Did I say your name right, Chris? Chris Craddock?
You did. You nailed it.
I'm second guessing myself after the fact. I know we've had conversations before. Let's talk a little bit about you and how you got into the real estate industry. Obviously, you were a residential real estate agent, started to realize that there was all kinds of missed opportunity that you were almost kind of blind to, right? And all of a sudden you started to uncover this. Talk to us a little bit about how that came about.
Well, it started, I was on staff with the ministry in the early 2000s, right after I got married, and I made $20,000 a year in the DC area, which if you know anything about the DC area, you can't live on $20,000 a year. And we always had a goal that my wife would stay home with the kids when I had kids. And so, when she got pregnant in 2003, I just was like, how do I make money to survive and also do what I love doing in ministry? And so we started, I just went to the library, checked out every book on real estate investing, and started knocking on doors of distressed properties, and I literally knew nothing about what I was doing. And one of my catchphrases in life is imperfect action trumps perfect inaction any day of the week. And so I just went out and started doing it. And I didn't know what I was doing, but somehow I made money. And so, I made 12 times what I made in a year in about 4 months. And so I was able to kind of step back and, continue doing ministry. But then, we have 6 kids, and anybody knows, I know you've got 6 kids too. So, it's like literally throwing your money in a bathtub and somebody drains the plug, right? Like that's basically what it is. And so I had to go back and figure out how was I going to continue to make money? And so, while I was doing ministry stuff. And so I started flipping houses again, but this was after the crash. So what I was looking for before, the way I was getting deals before, were all short sales. So I got a ton of short sales, and I realized the bank was paying a commission to real estate agents. So I'm like, why wouldn't I just get licensed and make the commission myself? So I got licensed, and then, during that time in ministry, I'd always loved leading people. I'd always, Zig Ziglar says you can have everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want in life. And so I always had big teams, and I came across Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and it just made sense to me. And so I guess it was like 2014, we started building our retail team, December 2014. And then last year in 2020, we finished up with 501 transactions, both on and off market, and 167 million in volume. And it just grew really, really fast. And a big piece of that was learning how to cross and bridge the gap between agents and investors, which should be a very, very good a very good relationship. But for whatever reason, investors live in one world and agents live in another. And, they leave a lot of money on the table because of it.
So I got to highlight a few things here. Number one, you closed 501 transactions. Your team's 501 transactions last year, 167 million. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And you have 6 children. I feel like I'm just not doing anything over here. Let's talk about this concept of success and significance. I think people think that I can either have a successful business or I can have a family at all, or especially a big family, right? And I love how you're kind of breaking the stereotypes here of no, you can actually have it all. You can actually have success and significance. That's what this show is all about, is to help people to think bigger, to realize you don't have to choose. You can actually have a great family life, a great spiritual life, be involved in ministry or whatever is important to you. And you can have a robust business that absolutely slays it. It's killer, Chris. I love your story for all kinds of reasons. You're my kind of guy. You're the kind of guy that thinks bigger than real estate, right? And I think that's one of the things that sometimes we get caught up in is we feel like we have to just build an empire, right, in the real estate world. Whereas you've built multiple empires, right? And sometimes you probably feel like that as you look across 6 heads at the dinner table, 7 heads with your wife. It's like, wow, I've got an empire here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's really incredible. I mean, if you are the bottleneck on each of the businesses, it's not a business, it's a job, right? Like let's just be honest. And so to build something where you can step back and it still runs when you're not there. I've got a good friend of mine. He's actually based out of Salt Lake City. And, he took a year off from his business. He was just working like crazy. And so his coach, who we both have the same business coach, challenged him. He just said, "Hey, why don't you go away for a year?" And he's like, I mean, imagine that. Like literally, if I were to say, "Hey, go away for a year," I mean, think about what happens. Your heart just starts beating, saying, "I can't do that," for all the different reasons. But then you start having to ask yourself, what would I have to do to get away from a business, or to get away from a job and into a business? And so that was the question there. And honestly, you just can't. You can have a high paying job forever, but you got to get out of it, because nobody wants to be 82 years old still showing houses at that point. Like if you haven't built yourself and parlayed all of the money you make into wealth, which gives you better options, then you're in trouble. And so that's the whole thing, whether it's building a business in real estate or building a business through buying assets. I think Grant Cardone says the biggest problem with real estate agents is they don't buy their own product. And so that's that whole idea is, how do you build enough assets so that you have income coming in so that your money works harder than you do? And, if your whole goal is just to make a lot of money because you're grinding, then, I think you're missing it.
Yeah, boy, so many powerful principles here, Chris. I'm absolutely loving this. Let's talk. You mentioned something about kind of this interesting relationship between investors and real estate agents. And I know you've built an empire kind of on this concept of like those two ought to work very closely together. Let's talk a little bit about kind of the paradigm of a typical traditional real estate agent, and maybe how that hat that they're wearing, that paradigm that that they have, is maybe causing them to miss, maybe right under their nose, opportunities to build wealth, to close deals. Kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about the average real estate agent, right? One, they're not making a ton of money. Two, they're just doing their transactions, right? Like something comes in, they're not, I mean, I would say this, I do a lot of coaching and helping, and I hope nobody feels like I'm crapping on you, because that's not my intention. My intention is to like the show said, to think bigger, right? And so the average real estate agent plays defense their whole life. They wait for the phone to ring. They're not out there making things happen, right? And so the difference is, I think that if you want to be average, then just do that. But if you don't want to be average, if you want to think bigger, then what you've got to do is say, how am I going to, one, work towards an end goal, right? What is the end goal? The end goal is to build enough assets so that my money will support my life, right? So that I don't have to be the key driver. I can make myself step out. It's called leverage. And that's the biggest key in life, is to have other things working harder than you're working. And so that's really the key. And if you begin with the end in mind, like Stephen Covey says, then you can say, okay, my goal is to build a net worth, build assets that will bring in, and you got to figure out how much you need to bring in. Maybe it's 100,000 a year, maybe it's 50,000 a year, maybe it's $1 million a year, but then just back that up. So for me in my area, if I have $13 million worth of paid off real estate assets, then that will net me, after paying management fees, paying vacancies, and paying for maintenance fees, that'll net me over $1 million a year. And that will grow. There's a number of pieces that will happen to that. But right there, I can have $1 million a year coming in that I am no longer the linchpin, the key driver on. And so I think that's really the key is, if you're a real estate agent, just know that if you're only looking at your next transaction, then you're going to always be only looking at your next transaction.
I mean, another Gary Kellerism, right? Or at least from his organization, what you focus on expands. And it's interesting. I was actually shooting a video yesterday, and I was talking about how if what you want is leads, you'll get leads. If what you want is transactions, you get transactions. Like if you actually want wealth, right, or sales or wealth or passive income, it's amazing how the world tends to present itself with whatever we're looking for, right? Whatever's in our brain. And I love how you're you're opening up this reality of like, hey, it's as simple as starting to look for different things, and then you'll start to find different solutions to kind of fill this void, fill this gap of what you might be missing to actually create wealth, right? And I think a lot of agents, as I talk with them, as I do business planning with them, there's no space for them to, both in time and in money, to be able to think about investing. It's always like, oh yeah, next year, oh yeah, 5 years from now, I'm going to start investing in real estate. And meanwhile, I think simply by having that paradigm, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah.
Because it'll always be 5 years. The challenge is it's always 5 years, right? And you talk to them 5 years from now, and it's, in 5 years from now, I'm going to start investing in real estate. And kind of what I hear you saying, and kind of what you even brought to the table, are some tools, different conversations, different even courses, and that really give real estate agents a new perspective on how actually today you could start becoming an investor, right? And working with investors. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, the first thing I would say, I don't know if you guys have, if you've read Tools of the Titans, the Tim Ferriss book. It's so
parts of it. I haven't read all of it.
Okay, so there's this interview with Peter Thiel, who also wrote a great book, 0 to 1. But Peter Thiel was basically the founder of PayPal. And then you look at all the people that came out of PayPal. I mean, that's one of my favorite case studies ever. You got Elon Musk, you got, the founders of YouTube, the founders of LinkedIn, like all these like just giants in this industry and in the world right now, all came from this mastermind group together that built PayPal. But what one of the things Peter Thiel said is, I ask you, what do you want to do in the next 6 years? And you come up with your plan, and he's like, why not 6 months? And that's a powerful question, right? Why not 6 months? And you look at it and you're like, because. Well, you know what? Yeah, there's always going to be a reason. There's always, I'm a Christian guy. There's a proverb in the Bible that talks about the lazy man. It says there's a lion in the street, right? There's always a lion in the street. There's always something out there, something crazy that gives us a reason. And let's be honest, we're all in sales, and we're really good at selling ourselves on our own BS.
That's the first sales job we do each and every day, right?
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. You can wake up and sell yourself on the fact that you're going to win and it's going to be a good day, and that you've won, or you can sell yourself on the fact that it's too hard and, oh, well, I'm a victim today. Life's too hard on me, but bottom line is, you look at everybody talking about all the different ways that people succeed. And I'll tell you, in America, you see, everybody succeed, the rich, the poor, the fat, the skinny, the, women, the men, the black, the white, the Asians, the, whatever, throw out any race, creed, sex has succeeded. And yes, sometimes it can be harder for some, but I'll tell you what, man, it is so awesome when you look around and see that anybody can succeed if they just run hard in this country.
Yeah, boy, it's funny. Last night I actually tuned into The Undercover Billionaire. I have been hearing about it. I've actually had Grant Cardone as a guest on the show, and so I've been super interested in kind of hearing, and he's been promoting it a lot. And I started actually the episode of the guy, and I'm not a big TV guy, so I actually had to purchase a subscription to a new service. I'm kind of like whatever. But as I got into it, it was fascinating. This guy Stearns, right? Who's Stearns Mortgage Company. That was his whole belief. The guy went from 0 to nothing, fathered a child at age 14, was dyslexic, bottom 10% of his entire class. Guy was a bit of a train wreck at an early age, right? Ended up, he's a billionaire now. And I mean, it showed him on his yacht off of Miami. A helicopter took him there. And from there, the helicopter took him to his private jet. And he went off to some place, where was it? Erie, Pennsylvania. And he's dropped off, given $100 in an old pickup truck. And in 90 days, he has to rebuild $1 million business. And so you hear these principles. And he said, I'm doing this because I want people to believe that the American dream is still alive, that you can actually have nothing, right? And with some ingenuity, you can create something fast. So talk about condensing timelines. It's actually interesting. This week I was on a training and I talked about how money loves fast action. It just does. The way, everybody, not everybody, but everybody that's working is going to make $1 million in their lifetime, right? And it comes down to how fast you're going to make that $1 million. Some people make it in an hour. Some people it takes them their whole lifetime. You just condense down the timelines. And that's what I hear you saying, Chris, here, is that we get in our own way. There's actually ways to pursue and live in accordance with the American dream by simply not continuing to kick the can out the road 5 years, whatever, but now start to take massive action now on that 6-year plan, 10-year plan, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. Imperfect action trumps perfect inaction. What is it? The movie and the book, The Ender's Game. They say we go. One of the moms says, "Is he ready?" And in the movie, Harrison Ford's character says, "We go when we're ready enough." Right. And the reality is we're all ready enough. Just go do it. Right. I mean, just go do it. And yeah, I love money. What was that? What was the quote? I love what you just said.
Condensing money, that one? Oh,
money follows fast action. Is that
fast action? Yep. Money loves fast action.
Money loves fast action. Yeah. I mean, you look at Facebook, right? Move fast and break things, right? That's their catchphrase. So yeah, money loves fast action. That's powerful. That's powerful. And here's the other thing. I mean, just as we're talking here, obviously you can tell like success leaves clues. I can tell you study, you read, you are in learning, and that's that whole thing. Your business grows to the extent you grow, right? If you learn, if you're not reading books, if you're not leveling up, if you're not listening to books, if you're not listening to podcasts, how are you going to level up? You're just going to learn on your own. And well, that's just. There's a book called The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham, who Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. That was his rich dad, right? Keith Cunningham. And so, the whole idea in The Road Less Stupid is don't pay the stupid tax. Somebody else has already paid it. Don't pay that stupid tax. Learn from others and then just go.
Yeah, it's interesting how there is, especially in our day and age, access to so much, right? So much information, so much knowledge. Books, the internet, for heaven's sake. Like there's no reason, we can know about everything in a matter of seconds, right? Now, a deeper knowledge comes through reading, so maybe it's a matter of days or weeks. But really, when you think about it that way, Chris, really the only thing that's holding us back, because knowledge doesn't hold us back anymore. We can tap into somebody else's knowledge, right? We can pay for coaches, we can pay for course, we can pay for help. It really comes down to simply us not believing and taking the necessary action to move in that direction. Is that oversimplified?
No, I mean, I think the best in the world make the complex simple, right? And so what we've boiled it down to in our team is activity and skill, right? Activity and skill. Talk to enough people and then get good at what you're saying when you talk to them. That's it. And so literally you can take almost anybody in any group. So why don't you, Justin, give me a number of transactions an agent is doing, and you can break it down to how they would double their business. Give me a number and
let's say 50 transactions a year, solid business.
50 transactions. Okay. So at 50 transactions, they probably need to hire an assistant. If they don't have an assistant, if they hire an assistant, because think about 80-20 rule. So at 50 transactions, you're already good. Right? You're already good at what you're doing because you know that you can close, you know that your skill is good, your activity is good because you're bringing in 50. So at that point, what you need to do is learn to leverage, right? So you need to get stuff off your plate. So let's talk about the 80-20 rule. We've all heard of it, the Pareto principle, where 80% of your results come from 20% of your action. So let's say we work 5 days a week, right? So 20% means that one of those 5 days brought in 80% of your income. So if you can figure out what are you doing in those other 4 days, and there's a book called Clockwork that Mike Michalowicz, who wrote Profit First, wrote, and he said basically take everything you do in a day, you write it on a Post-it note, and every time you do something, put it on a Post-it note, put it on your wall, and then you start looking at these things that are low dollar activities, and you create a job description, right? And at 50 transactions, you're doing enough business that your business has earned the right to build out that org chart. So get an assistant there. The next thing is get somebody to help you with showings and buyers, because you just can't show, you can't show 100 buyers. You can't double your business and show 100 buyers. So get somebody to help you with that, but make sure the split is good, where it's helping them win and it's helping you win. And don't have a limiting belief on that, because a lot of times you think, oh, if I give a low split, they're not going to make money. But what I've learned is business begets business. Winning begets winning. So if they're doing a lot of business with you, they're going to start doing a whole heck of a lot more business on their own as well as you hand that off. So their net income is going to crush anybody's net income that's doing lesser business. So if you want to double your business and you're at 50 transactions, one, you gotta mark down what you're doing every day, figure out what that 80% is, get it all in there, create a job description. Most likely at 50 transactions, you need to hire a full-time assistant, not a transaction coordinator, a full-time assistant. And then you get that job description, those things onto their plate. And then you bring on a buyer's agent showing assistant that is going to help you with all your showings. And right there, I promise you, if you continue doing what you're doing with all your freed up time from your assistant and from those showings, you'll double your business as long as you don't just sit on your couch and play Xbox.
Boy, it's a simple recipe, isn't it? It's you're one hire away, maybe 2 hires away, right? A showing assistant and an assistant, right? Buyer's agent assistant, from doubling your business and impacting 2 other people's lives in pretty significant ways. It's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Chris, talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you do. So I've got a couple questions left. The last one's going to be about what you do to continue to be a big thinker, to expand your possibilities. Before we go there, talk to us a little bit about some of the stuff that you have to offer to really be of help to agents.
Sure. Yeah. So I've got a class that's mainly towards investors finding agents because these investors they pay tens of thousands of dollars every month for leads. And if they can't flip them or wholesale them, they just die. But the reality is most of these investors have tried to find agents and they haven't done it well. And so we've really cracked the code there. So if you are friends with any wholesalers or fix and flip agents or like investors in your area, then definitely go to my website, chriscraddock.com, and sign in, check it out there. The second thing is go to my Instagram, Craddock, and you can reach out to me. I'll respond to almost every DM. I try to help people and help any way I can. So those are 2 of the ways that that I'm reaching out and trying to help other people in the community.
Okay, I love it, man. That's powerful stuff, because you're right. There are so many leads that people think are dead. And what I hear you saying is these are people who actually reached out and wanted to actually talk to, like, they called a real estate agent for a reason, right? So it looks like a dead lead to the untrained eye, but with the skills that you give, it allows you to take leads that otherwise would have been dead and turn them into a different kind of opportunity, which I think is super powerful, right?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to an agent that I was kind of coaching in this, it's an agent investor partnership that I teach and train in this REI Revive class. And I was just talking to an agent the other day where, like, literally last year their investment group made 50 grand and the agent group made less than that. And in the last 2.5 months since we started working on this, the agent herself just brought in 90 grand GCI in 2.5 months. It's crazy that they basically matched their whole year in 2.5 months, and they're just getting started. Like they're going. So that's one of the big keys there. Also, I've got a Facebook group as well, Uncommon Real Estate, and a podcast, the Uncommon Real Estate Podcast, where we talk through all of this stuff too. So those are other ways to find us.
I love it, man. Great stuff. All right, let's move now to the last question. Actually, I got one more. I got to sneak one in here. You're a dad of 6 kids, beautiful wife. How do you manage, like, just day to day? Like, how do you not neglect them when you've got 9 businesses, one of which sold 501 transactions last year? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's always a struggle, right? I mean, you're always being pulled in 1,000 different directions, and anybody that says that they're not is lying, right? So it's always a struggle, and you just have to, continue to look and say, hey, where am I focusing? And I'll give one example. I mean, just for my boys, we were playing, down in Florida on vacation. We were playing down there, and I realized, I was like, man, I need to spend some more time doing this. So I started, Sunday afternoons, we just went out and started playing ultimate frisbee with a couple other dads and their sons, and just trying to make sure that you're putting stuff on the calendar.
I love it, man. Great stuff. All right, final question. You're a big thinker, no doubt. That's why you're here on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. What does Chris Craddock do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to grow, to continue to expand your possibilities?
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 things to grow your mindset, right? Your intake, your associations, in your affirmations, right? Intake, I am always, there's not a day that goes by where I don't have at least an hour of intake where I'm learning from other people, books, podcasts, seminars, webinars, whatever, just always there. Associations, Jim Rohn, you're going to be the average of the 5 people you spend time with. I'm always trying to hang out with people that think bigger than me and that are going to push me and also call me on my own BS because, I'm a good salesperson to myself as well. And then the third one is affirmations. We all talk to ourselves and, let's be honest, we're all a little crazy. And so how do we talk to ourselves? And, so we work on not letting ourselves talk. I mean, literally, if I heard somebody talk to me the way I talk to myself sometimes, I'd probably punch them in the throat, right? Like I wouldn't accept that, but I'll accept it for myself. And that's just not okay. So always working on being a hype squad for yourself to kind of help you, level up.
I love that, Chris, because oftentimes we think of affirmations as something we read with enthusiasm in the morning. What I hear you saying is an affirmation is constantly going on inside of our own mind, that there's a narrative, not about the outside world, but about our world, about how we show up in the world, about what we deserve, what we don't deserve. That's a real affirmation. That's the tape that's continuously playing. We correct that, and we have seriously unlocked a key that most people never unlock, right?
100%.
Fantastic, man. Ben, such a pleasure to spend some time with you. If any of you have interest, again, and you should, of following this guy, find him on Instagram. We'll put all of this in the show notes, and then take a look at his course. I think there's a lot of dead leads that we're all stepping over that really could turn into something for you and or for other people on your team. So, Chris, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for helping us to think bigger today, for expanding our possibilities, both in the pursuit of success and significance. You're the kind of guy that's doing both. Appreciate that. And my final request of everybody listening here today are 3 simple words, and they are go think bigger. Thank you, Chris, for inspiring us to do that today, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother.